Hello dear visitors, today we're going to speak about some interesting facts in the life story and the story of death of Duncan Idaho. But first I want to warn you that this series of videos will contain some very significant spoilers that deal with the character of Duncan Idaho. And so I highly recommend to read the first two books from the DUNE Chronicles, or at least to read the first book and maybe the first third of the second book before you watch this video. And also, to make this video as spoiler-free as possible, I have even gone as far as changing the title of this video. So the title of this video should have been completely different, and now after I read you a small passage from the second book, Dune Messiah, concerning Duncan Idaho, you will probably guess what could have been the real title of this video. Now pay close attention. Save your praise for those who can be swayed by it, Ireland said. Earlier, you mentioned a ghost, a revenant, with which we may contaminate the Emperor. Explain this. The Atreides will defeat himself, Edric crowed. Stop talking riddles, Ireland snapped. What is this ghost? A very unusual ghost, Edric said. It has a body and a name. The body that's the flesh of a renowned swordmaster known as Duncan Idaho. The name Idaho's dead, Ireland said. Paul has mourned the loss often in my presence. He saw Idaho killed by my father Sardaukar. Even in defeat, Edric said. Your father Sardaukar did not abandon wisdom. Let us suppose a wise Sardaukar commander recognized the swordmaster in a corpse his men had slain. What then? There exist uses for such flesh and training if one acts swiftly. At Leilak Sugola? Ireland whispered, looking sideways at Skytail. Skytail, observing her attention, exercised his face dancer powers. Shape flowing into shape, flesh moving and readjusting. Presently, a slender man stood before her. The face remained somewhat round, but darker and with slightly flattened features. High cheekbones formed shelves for eyes with definite epicanthic folds. The hair was black and unruly. A Gola of this appearance, Edric said, pointing to Skytail. Or merely another face dancer? Ireland asked. No face dancer, Edric said. A face dancer risks exposure under prolonged surveillance. No, let us assume that our wise Sardaukar commander had Idaho's corpse preserved for the axolotl tanks. Why not? This corpse held the flesh and nerves of one of the finest swordsmen in history, an advisor to the Atreides, a military genius. What a waste to lose all that training and ability when it might be revived as an instructor for the Sardaukar. I heard not a whisper of this, and I was one of my father's confidants, Ireland said. But your father was a defeated man, and within a few hours you had been sold to the new emperor, Edric said. Was it done? She demanded. With a maddening air of complacency, Edric said, "Let us presume that our wise Sardaukar commander, knowing the need for speed, immediately sent the preserved flesh of Idaho to the Bennett Laylocks. Let us suppose further that the commander and his men died before conveying this information to your father, who couldn't have made much use of it anyway. There would remain then a physical fact, a bit of flesh, which had been sent off to the Tlailexu. There was only one way for it to be sent, of course, on a Highlander. We of the guild naturally know every cargo we transport. Learning of this one, would we not think it additional wisdom to purchase the Gola as a gift befitting an emperor?" "You've done it then," Irolan said. Skytail, who had resumed his roly-poly first appearance, said, "As our long-winded friend indicates, we've done it." "How has Idaho been conditioned?" Irolan asked. "Idaho?" Edric asked, looking at the Tlailexu. "Do you know of an Idaho, Skytail?" "We sold you a creature called Hate," Skytail said. "Ah, yes, Hate," Edric said. "Why did you sell him to us?" "Because we once bred a Kwisatz Haderach of our own," Skytail said. With a quick movement of her old head, the Reverend Mother looked up at him. "You didn't tell us that," she accused. "You didn't ask," Skytail said. "Okay, let's stop here. Now, after listening to this fascinating excerpt, you most certainly understand that the more fitting title for this video would have been something along the lines of Duncan Idaho Undead, or maybe Did Duncan Idaho Survive? Or even something as straightforward as Duncan Idaho alive after the events of the first movie or the first book? But the information that I've just revealed to you while reading the excerpt is just the icing on the cake, believe me. So stay tuned for the second part of this video, where you will learn about the very first meeting of Paul Muad'Dib with Duncan Idaho after Idaho's death. This will be very interesting, I assure you. Thanks for watching, and thank you very much for your likes and subscriptions. See you next time.